All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. So we're going to get started on the analysis. Let me grab my bias chart really quick. And let's see here. Thank you guys for all the congratulations and well wishes, by the way. I need to... widen this just a hair. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. And let's save that. Okay, so it wasn't allowing the date to come up. Okay, so let's get started with our morning analysis. Start with the euro. Okay, so here's your euro, and like I said, I've cleared out of all my dollar longs right now. I'm going to be waiting for Brainerd's speech today, and that's like I said, I think it's a fairly significant speech. That's what that's what everybody's waiting for today, because there isn't any other data really coming out today. I mean, there's a little bit, but it's all irrelevant. Okay, so here is your euro chart, and basically the pattern we're dealing with right now. I still think it is a head and shoulder pattern. You can see this underside of this trend line right here that's being tested, or was tested overnight. Here's your hourly, and so that's significant. It's significant in the fact that we know that is going to be key resistance today. That is 112.60. So if we break above 112.60, you know that the downside is then at that point in time, it's nullified. We should probably trade back up towards 113 pretty easily. So resistance will be 112.60. All right. Support. So if we do break 112, let's just measure this out really quick. So if we do break 112, that should open up a move. That should open up a move to right here, which, let me delete that. It's not far away, actually. I mean, I'm tempted just to write down 111.80, really, because a lot of because this is if we break through this 112, then you're going to get everybody trying to short it down here. And actually, I didn't draw that correctly. That's incorrect. Right there. But that'll take us down to 111.65. So 111.65, which will be right here. I think you have to be really careful that you're not chasing the euro below 112. Okay, so obviously there's going to be support at 112, but then there's 111.65, 112. Okay, those are going to be your couple supports. We're just in a range. We really are. Nasty range. What's going to break? I really hope. And keep in mind, guys, I don't own any dollars right now. I'm not long the dollar. I mean, I try to buy the dollar, here and there when I can. But I really hope the Fed raises rates in September. The reason why is if they raise rates in September, it's going to induce a lot of volatility in our markets going into the fall. Volatility is not necessarily a good thing, especially if you're long. But for us as traders, um, uh, the increased volatility will be very welcome for us. It'll give us a lot of opportunities to make money. I think if the Fed keeps rates unchanged in September, we're going to be just kind of trudging through the fall. So I really, really, really hope, really, really hope that that we get that. Thanks, guys. You guys tweeting my wife happy anniversary. Thanks, Takis and Melinda. Thank you very much. All right, let's take a look at the pound. Here's the pound. So we still have this head and shoulder pattern. All right, it's still in play. This is what we're dealing with right now. Okay, and the target still comes in at 131 and a quarter. Now, there's a lot of room for downside here. And yes, I am still short the euro pound. I don't know about you guys, but I'm still short the euro pound. So, resistance right now, 132.85. I think it's the same resistance we had yesterday, right? Or Friday, 132.85. And I know it's really close. I'd almost be really tempted to short the cable right now, but I just don't want to play the dollar ahead of ahead of Brainerd's speech. Okay, so support 132.33, and let's actually we have our fib measured from here, but I'm actually going to measure that a little differently. I'm going to put this over here. So we got a 50% retracement. Let me do one last thing. Add the 88.2. Just double check something. 88.6. Add. Show. So why didn't that add? Hold on. Why can't I add that? There it is. Okay. There we go. All right. Just want to make sure I had that fib level in there. All right. Sorry about that. Remember, last week I had a real big technical issue, so it like screwed up my charts. I had to re-input all my favorite stuff. So anyway, that was part of it. Okay. So on a move lower, I mean, we're obviously holding this 50% retracement right now. So the 618 comes in at 132. I'm going to write that down as support. Now, I still think we'll go further than that. I still think we can come down to 130, 131.20, but that's not going to happen today. If we push through these lows, then 132 will come into play for today. All right, let's go over to the Swissy. Now, guys, the Swissy is in this channel, and this channel is huge. This is a big deal, right? Whoops, didn't want to do that. Okay, here's the Swissy. And this channel is huge. We're obviously struggling in here, but if we break if we break 99 cents in the Swissy, that's going to be extremely bullish. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if we break 99 cents, I'm gonna drop everything and go long the Swissy. Okay, because that means that um, we have broken out of this down channel. We've respected these major trend lines, and it's time to get long, in my opinion. You have one. So you have that trend line right there. So again, I think that any move above 99 cents and it's just all you know all bets are off. The Swiss is going to weaken substantially. That's what I'd be looking for. All right, but that obviously is not going to happen today. It's not even something I'm really worried about today. I'm just more thinking of that longer term. Um, for right now, the 618 obviously is held downside for the Swissy. Let's see what kind of resistance we have here. Again, why didn't that? Okay, hopefully that'll save this time. Um, so the 618 comes in at 97.95. And I still think that this is actually going to offer better resistance right up here. That'll be 98.20, and support's down here at 96.50, and we're at 97.50. So what I'd rather do is I'd rather buy a dip down to 96.50 if I can get it. I just don't know if we're going to get that. Again, it's all dependent on Brainerd today. So, um, 96.50, resistance 98.20, and we're just kind of mid-range right now. I don't know if there's a whole lot to do at this very moment, but we're in a range. All right, let's go take a look at the dollar yen. Oh my God. Wait until we get to the peso. Have you guys seen the peso today? All right. So here's the US dollar Japanese yen. We're actually testing some pretty key support here, but with equities heavy, this is likely for us to come down here. So for us to come back down to 101.20 is likely. Resistance, that 618 held. This is very significant, and it held. That was the neckline of the head and shoulder pattern, right? So right now, 103.10 is major resistance. That's major resistance, and then support down here is 101.20. And we are in a bearish trend. The only thing that's going to take us out of that bearish trend really is to clear this 103.10 and then to clear 104.30. And then once that happens, the bearish trend of the dollar yen is over. But you have to keep in mind that as stocks are weakening, the yen can continue to strengthen, and we can see that dollar yen weakness will probably end up being, you know, feeding into the other yen pairs, and it could actually feed in some dollar weakness too. But with equities coming down, the yen strengthening is pretty normal. Okay. All right, let's take a look at the dollar Canadian. So the dollar Canadian, really strong move here. We're pushing into major resistance. Yep, I'm not long. I don't have any Canadian exposure. Let's remove that. This is all. Remember, ahead of the Canadian jobs report, we said short here, get long down here. All my lines didn't transfer over through the weekend, so let's get rid of those. Okay, so there's this massive trend line that's coming through here, which caps us, and I'm actually tempted to short the dollar Canadian right now. You know what? Instead of shorting the dollar Canadian, I might actually short the New Zealand Canadian. Right? Oh, this is tempting. 450. So tempting to short it. Obviously very overbought. Relative strength is divergent. I just don't know if I want any dollar exposure. Hold on. See, if the Canadian's going to firm from here, then I'd rather be on the short side of the New Zealand Canadian, knowing that massive resistance or key resistance is at 96.60. We're at 95.70. All right, I sold some New Zealand Canadian because let's say, here, let me put in my stop too, really quick. Okay, I put in my stop loss. Anyway, if the U.S. dollar Canadian, okay, should stop here, which I think it should, and like I said, I should be shorting the dollar Canadian. I just don't want any dollar exposure right now ahead of Brainerd's speech. But your risk is really right here at 131.50. So I mean, if you short it right now, your risk is basically 40 pips, right? Now your reward could be, you know, 130, 130.50. Let's say she's still quite dovish. I mean, we could come right back into this triangle. So $131.40 is major resistance. Okay, because if that happens, then you know Canadian pairs are going a lot higher. Canadian's going to really get destroyed. We're in our range, but we are going to threaten to turn bullish if we can start breaking out. We can start breaking above some of this resistance. This thing's going to turn bullish. It's a pretty massive move, though. Like I said, the risk reward is to be on the short side. Now, should we pull back? And I don't know if this is the peak, so I can't draw any fibs at this point. Hello?
Hey, Blake.
Yeah.
I tweeted out off my Reuters feed, and I copied you on it. Fez Lockhart speaks on the monetary policy and economic outlook before the National Association for Business Economics in about another 10 minutes.
That's cool. No,
Or 15 minutes.
from all the accounts that I've read over the weekend, no one really cares about the other two Fed governors today. No one cares about the other two Fed governors today. Everybody's worried more what Brainerd's going to say. But thank you very much. So maybe
Okay.
Lockhart will shed some light. Thank you so much. All right, so let's go over to the hourlies. So where's support going to be on the Canadian? Um, Again, I don't know if this is the peak, but if it was, see, this was a wedge at one point, right? That was a wedge, that was a breakout. So that means that 130.50 should offer some support. Not great support, but 130.50 should offer some support today. So if you're short, and if you're short the U.S. dollar Canadian up here, and we dip back below 131 down to 131.60, 131.70, you might want to, start taking some profits off the table if you can get back down here. Okay. For those of you that went ahead and did it, and I know there's probably a few of you guys that did, even though I didn't short the dollar Canadian, I'm assuming some of you did. All right, so here's the Kiwi. I closed my Kiwi short. Coming back and testing the underside of this trend line is possible today, which so it's actually more important. I should have saw this earlier. See that? That's a massive trend line. You know what that means? That means if we break the lows today, so I'm going to write down 72.90. Actually, I'll write down 72.85. 72.85. If we break that, that's our cue that the Kiwi is really going to come unglued. Oh man, look at, I'm sure, for those of you that did short the dollar Canadian, congratulations. Look at that. Thomas says I did. I know you did. I know some of you did. Why? Because you're junkies. Cliff did too. Okay, yeah, because you guys are junkies. I mean, it's a great risk reward. I mean, you know, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's right up against resistance. I mean, it sounds. Anyway, um, all right, where was I at? So here's the Kiwi. Where's the Kiwi? All right, here's the Kiwi. So massive support down here. If that breaks, then we know that this dollar moves for real. Okay. Resistance. $73.80. That'll be resistance. All right, guys. I'll be back in a few minutes. When I come back, we'll continue on with the Aussie, dollar index, peso, Nordic currencies. Don't go anywhere. Thanks. Hey guys and gals, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I hope everybody's having a great trading session, and we're going to continue on with our analysis. So we just wrapped up the Kiwi. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Aussie. Here's the Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar is finding some support ahead of this horizontal support here, and this is one of the things that kind of freaked me out this morning as we were coming down towards the support, and I'm like, it looks like that's going to hold. So 74.90 seems like pretty good support right now. So let's write that down, 0.7490. That's going to be significant. This is just kind of like the Kiwi. If the Kiwi breaks 72.85 and the Aussie breaks 74.90, that to me is going to signal that there's more losses for both of those to come. And I don't mind reinitiating shorts in the Aussie and the Kiwi, but I need to see those two levels break. Okay, because we've come down really far already. And I know that you probably got people that are like myself that are covering up their shorts like I did a couple hours ago. And they're hoping for a bounce. You got some people that are probably picking up long saying, all right, well, my risk is just below here. So that's why if we move below these lows, I think that's going to expose some downside. Now, any rally back probably to the 618 is going to find some resistance. I mean, I want to, if you can see, let's grab this really quick. See these wicks over here? Okay. And this is a very high traffic area. You can see from over here too. Support, this is resistance, support, support. So it's probably going to be resistance on the way back up at 75.80. Okay. I would not mind being short the Aussie dollar on a move back up to 75.80. Okay. Now also keep in mind we are in a big range. We are in the apex of a massive triangle. That's something else to talk about. You look at the triangle here. A lot of people got very bullish last week, and a big failure last week. So we're in the apex of this triangle. It's very volatile when you're in the apex of a move like this. It's very dangerous. You can get whipped around and turned upside down really quickly. So you got to be very careful. All right, take your shots. Take them carefully. This is not a market where you can. You really have to plan out what you're doing and stick to that plan. Trade your plan. Plan your trade. Trade your plan. Okay. All right. Let's go into the dollar index. Okay, so here's your dollar index. Now the dollar index ended up holding support overnight, which this is if we're talking an inverted head and shoulder pattern. That seemed like a pretty important neckline, right? And the low is at 95.10. So that 95.10, if this breaks, then we know that this dollar weakness is going to come back in. Meaning that so like if it's Brainerd's speech and she just continues to be dovish, we'll probably end up breaking 95.10. Now the flip side to that is if she has more of a hawkish tone, the 618 is holding right now thus far, but I think we can come all the way up to 95.88. So resistance right here is 95.60, right? 95.60. Lockhart says remaining slack on labor market is relatively small. Economic growth chugging along, not stalling out. Lockhart sees slowdown in job growth as monthly job growth has approached to full employment. Blah, blah, blah. So really not a lot going on. S&P showing a bounce. You know what's probably a good short here? The next one we're going to talk about, the peso. This thing has been absolutely freaking crazy. Now, I would not short this thing. There's no way that I could do that, but you might if you're crazy. Um, we overshot the 127% extension. If things get a little crazy today, we could see 1933. 161% extension. Let me check something else with that. So that would be the 88% retracement of this move too. It just hit the 786. That's what stalled us over today. But if we can make it to 1933, that looks entirely possible. This is a very strong move, guys. I know the first inclination is, oh, I should short that, but we've gone from 1825 to 1920. I mean, that's a huge move. Huge. Peso will run you over. Didn't have any problems doing it either. So support will be right here now. Let's get rid of this. 1892 is support for today. There's going to be a lot of people that got stuck on the short side that just really happy to get out on dips, I'm sure. We are in a range, but you know we're getting towards the upper end of our range. That's a scary move to stand in front of, but yeah. Okay, let's go over to the Nordic currencies. Here's the Norwegian krona. I did sell mine already. I bought it on Friday. I bought it like 825 and I sold it this morning at like 826. I mean, I literally just bought. I barely made anything. But I'm not in it anymore right now. Right now, this is major support. You can see we even tested it to show you how significant it was at 822. So 8.2200 and resistance 618 comes in at 829. .29. We are in a range. I think the Norwegian krona caught a lot of people short, but last week caught a lot of people on the short side. The thing about this crude oil is this crude's so weak that if crude continues to weaken, I mean, the U.S. dollar Norwegian krona could be up at 840 without much of an issue. Swedish krona. So we overshot this support that we had written down from last week. 851, we overshot it. Now we're setting up a possible shooting star. Possible. So let me move that. And, you know, this may have actually completed. Stand by. So I would say that that inverted head and shoulder pattern completed. It completed. It will. I mean that's like a perfect completion too, right? tweet that out because that one finally completed. What that also signals to us right now, for those people, they can only see what I tweet on Twitter, but they don't hear what we have to say here. What that really signals is if we break above those highs, this thing's going to fly. Okay, because there's a lot of people short once a pattern completes, but above 854, that thing will get bullish. 8.54, that's significant now. Okay, support will be, the neckline here will be 846, basically. We're in a range. Okay. All right, guys. Your bias chart is finished. So there you go. Have at it. And